Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. I hope that all of you are blessed. I hope that you have gotten off to a great start for the week, having a great Tuesday, looking forward to a more awesome Wednesday. And no matter what, you are ready to make things happen individually and collectively. For those of you who have responded to the video that I made about the young mother who is in dire straits, thanks for the support. A lot of you have sent your prayers and blessings, but I'll be honest, we need a lot more of you to give. We are moving her. She's going to be leaving in the next day or so, going to her new location. And we are 100% facilitating this. And so we definitely need your help. If you want to know what I'm talking about, the link to the video is going to be in the description box. You can go check it out. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I'm going to be talking to you guys about it because it's an ongoing thing and it's not a one off. This isn't this isolated, arbitrary incident. This is a problem in the community, and we have no set protocol in place to make sure mothers and children and families in general. I think another thing that we have a problem with is we don't like to help families where there's a man in the house. I hate that. Anybody can fall on hard times. Anybody can go through something. And I think that we need to have protocols in place. Matter of fact, I spell that out in great detail in the blueprint for Black empowerment on the website. You need to check that out at the Odyssey Project 21.top. You need to go to the blueprint for Black empowerment and look at what we really need to be focused on. And it's extensive because that's the work that needs to be done. Hello, everyone that's weighing in. Hey, Tamika, haven't seen you in a while. I hope everything's going great. But for those of you who want to know about this young Black mother with 4 children that we're helping, 2 daughters have already been shot. They're being threatened by gang violence. They also have an ongoing lawsuit against the police department behind some more issues. Watch the video. I actually interview her on the last video I did about it so that you can actually put a face on this person I've been talking about. We're not going to give you her name. We're not going to give you her city location. And we're not going to tell you where we're taking her because we are really, truly trying to protect her. This isn't one of those situations where someone's talking about hurting somebody and you get wind of it and you kind of get protective. This is a person who has already had their home shot up, lost their home because of the violence and a bunch of other stuff that's going on. Watch the video. But we definitely need as much support as we can possibly get because we are going to facilitate the relocation. We're going to facilitate her training so that she can become sufficient and not dependent on the government. We're going to make sure her children get into schooling, and all of them, absolutely all of them, need counseling on an ongoing basis indefinitely. Trauma is on 10. And if you saw the video yesterday, you can tell. I believe in redemption. I believe in giving people the chance to find themselves. I'm not a person full of condemnation because I know who I've been and where I've come from. And I know how one wrong decision can really, really put you in a bad place. And I know how hard it is to get people to care. I know how hard it is to get people to want to really actually invest in you. People will pray for you at the gazoo, but they don't understand that action is required as well. So I'm gonna get off of that. Look, please click the link and watch the video and show some love. It's not that we don't need support in all areas. I'm sharing the way that you can support, but if you're specifically giving to support her relocation and getting her set up and getting her the things she's going to need over the next year, right now we just want to make sure she's okay now, safe, where she's one of the craziest things is when I am counseling her and working with her and trying to sell her and doing all this stuff that goes on behind the scenes that nobody ever sees or hears because they're not supposed to. But when I'm doing that, what my biggest fear is? I'm going to be sitting up there watching her on this screen because she's on her phone and she's zooming with me, and somebody's going to walk up and put a bullet in her head. And it's, that is like the scariest thing in the world. And that's the same thing that my partner said. She said, man, it's so scary because you can see the background. And if she, fools around, we got her off social media, thank God, because she was on social media. She was fighting whatever way she could because it was coming from so many different directions. And I told her that wasn't what she needed to be doing. That wasn't smart, because people can see the background through the windows of your car. And if they're familiar with a town, and that town is not the biggest town, and that's not like in Houston, people will know that background, and you look up and somebody's up on you. They've already come to your house and shot up your house and, shot 2 of your babies. So there's a link in the description box, if you can see the description box, where we're working with trying to give some help to this young Black mother. Cause I said so is asking, who are we talking about? So it's a young woman that the Odyssey Project is working to help. And I'm just actually mentioning this at the beginning of this video because it's an ongoing issue and we really do need support. But moving on, recently, there's been a lot popping up about BLM. Now, let's go back like 6 years. I think it's like 6 years since Mike Brown. A little bit more. Let's go back before the murder of Darren Seals. Neota Euro, Darren Seals, and I was feeding off of them, and I was telling you, hey, pay attention. Black Lives Matter isn't what they appear to be. Then the following years, I started providing receipts. I'm like, go to their website, read their website. This is a foundation that built their entire movement on the backs and blood of young Black males. But there's not anything about young Black males, especially Black men and family, on the website. This is LGBTQ. This is feminism. This is everything but the Black family in the traditional sense. And there's definitely no love for heterosexual, straight, masculine Black men. I pointed it out. I said, this is a cash grab, and it's an interruption and disturbance aimed at diffusing that powder keg that had become Ferguson. This is something that was an explosion waiting to happen. It was a powerful movement. That was a stand being made. Like not even Trayvon Martin didn't even come close to what was popping off in Ferguson. And Black Lives Matter not only moved in for the cash grab, to grab the bag, but they also came and diverted the attention, diverted the resources. See, people who are actually doing work in the community to help people, like what we're doing with this young Black mother, can't get funding. And people who are counseling the parents of children who have been murdered in the streets can't get funding. The work that we do with Black Men League can't get funding. But they've taken that we can account for close to $100 million. Okay, now I'm almost certain, just understanding how the game is played and knowing how things go, that there's a lot more than the 90-something million that's out there that we know about. And very little to any is being actually being distributed to the different chapters, and the different chapters have actually turned in on the organization itself. They're calling themselves the BLM 10 or something like that, where they are actually calling for transparency. They are taking aim at what if you haven't noticed, all of the founders are fleeing. The latest, Patrisse Cullors, got called out for the purchasing of multiple homes in excess of $1 million. Her real estate portfolio has like boomed, and she's now even got a home she's building a wall around for protection. And now Mike Brown Sr. has come out, and the last 6 to 8 months questioning where the funding went, what was it used for, how did it benefit the community. And this is something that Neoda and Darren Seals died trying to get you guys to see. He told you don't ever associate him with Black Lives Matter. He told you what they were doing. He told you they were vultures. He told you what was going on. I came behind those two, taking what they were sharing. And I did my research, and I'm telling you, hey, these people aren't for us. These people are sitting up and diverting unbelievable amounts of resources to things that don't service the Black community. I told you this. This is years ago. And, you know, and I kept putting it out there. Then after a while, I looked up and said, hey, look, people are going to have to figure it out because there's so much else going on. I can't spend so much energy talking about this. But we really lost an unbelievable opportunity because of Black Lives Matter. Everybody's looking at the money. And I understand that because there's a definite need for resources in the Black community that a lot of that, for once, we had the Black community galvanized. For once, we had people giving at unbelievable rates, something we haven't experienced in God knows when. That's something that's so hard to do, is get Black people to give in abundance on something outside of the church. And yet we had it. And here they come, funded by George Soros, come in and they grab the resources and haul ass, invest themselves into personal and other interests, LGBTQ, feminist movements, anything anti-Black man, anti-Black family, they were in it and they were pushing it. And if you went to their website, you would never know that they got their impetus and their compulsion from the death of Mike Brown. Now, the hashtag Black Lives Matter it existed before that. It was a hashtag. It simply said Black Lives Matter. We've been saying that forever. That's not new. They sit up and branded it. They sit up and took it and made it their movement because it was an obvious focal point at the time. We were screaming it at the top of our lungs, and they made a move on it. They played us emotionally. They played us financially. They played us politically, and they left us hanging. And now chickens are starting to come home and roost. Mike Brown, not Trayvon. Tamir Rice's mom has always rejected being associated or involved in anything Black Lives Matter. She's been anti-Crump and a bunch of others that are part of this little machine that makes a living and enriches itself off the suffering and the death of Black lives. And so she, you know, and she's been, you know, villainized and everything else, made to seem like she's insufferable and hard to work with and a whole bunch of other things. But the truth of the matter is she saw the game. And she's fighting to protect the legacy of her baby, even at the cost of her bank account. And I give her credit for that. And I'm pretty sure they got a settlement. I don't know what it was, but she has been coerced many times to be a part of this, and she's refused to do it. And I definitely applaud her for it. So this is actually the young woman I was talking about that just hit me. I'll have to get to her as soon as I can. Hopefully it's nothing serious. But look, why am I here talking about this now? Because just sharing news isn't what I do. That's a part of what I do that I'm going to do in expanding Rick Wallace Enterprises as far as the Odyssey Media Group is concerned. But the Black voice is about empowerment. And so why am I sharing this now? Because I want us to be more aware and more alert of how things work. We have suffered so much over the last 75 years because we simply don't understand how things work. We can go back even further. We can go back 100 years, Tulsa, Oklahoma. We can go back even further than that, Slocum, Texas. We can go back to before the turn of the 20th century, 1898, I believe, Wilmington, North Carolina. And we can look at all these things and we can sit up and say, okay, we didn't understand how things work. And what do you mean by that, Doc? Here's what I mean by that. Tulsa, Oklahoma Let's just stick at one place, because you had Slocum, Tulsa, Rosewood, Wilmington, North Carolina, East St. Louis. We had a bunch of different places that were thriving, Black communities, self-sufficient, and internal. The Black dollar was bouncing multiple times, and they were growing and thriving. But what happened? They were burned out. Here's why: we didn't understand how things work. We had gained an understanding of how to build on an economic level. We understood economic science, or the science of economics, but we didn't understand political science, and we didn't understand military science. We didn't understand that when you operate your entity within a hostile environment, there must be political alliances, there must be economic reinforcement, that must be security that provides the protection for what is so valuable. You can't have something valuable sitting in the midst of something so hostile. How do you think Israel, which is by far the most hated nation by Arabs on the planet, that's surrounded by Arabs, how do they thrive? Political alliances, the use of the money that they have generated every year that they get from different countries in the form of billions of dollars to create an air force, to create nuclear protection, but also to create alliances with two of the most powerful militaries in the world, in Britain and the United States. In order to mess with them, you've got to deal with the US, you've got to deal with Britain and other alliances. That's called military science. It's not just about what you can do with your own might. It's about the alliances you create, and in the ability to do that, it's about the geopolitical impact. And so we didn't understand that. So we left ourselves open and vulnerable and unprotected because we didn't invest in politicians with any of that money that would have provided us with certain protections. We didn't develop our own ability to arm and defend ourselves with forces. Now we're starting to see Black militias pop up, and that's going to be a necessary part of being able to protect ourselves as we build, because we will never, ever truly thrive as an integral part of their system. We may be able to move into that system, operate, grab what we want, and move and grab, come out, but we're going to have something of our own if we're ever going to sit up and really and truly liberate ourselves. You can't liberate yourself inside of a system that was designed to oppress you. Now, you can learn how to navigate that system to get what you want out of it, but you're going to have to be able to own something and move something. Same thing with with media. We talk about it all the time. The reason that I'm a part of alt-Black media is because we have to own something. We have to own the platforms that we're going to speak truth to power from. We have to own the platforms that we're going to provide content from. Why? Because anytime that you do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing about the wrong person, you can almost guarantee that they're going to run and complain and point fingers on whatever platform you're on. You're going to get suspended, or even worse, have your whole account terminated, and you have absolutely no control over it, no complaint, because you don't own it. And that's a problem. While we're on it, we got to use it to our benefits. But we have to be aware of the parameters. We have to be aware of the restrictions. We have to be aware. I know that better than anybody. It's cost me dearly, but it taught me a lesson. Two things: know the rules, but also own your own. And so I'm working on both. And you've got to learn how to navigate and do things, but it's about knowing. They came into Ferguson with a plan. They came into Ferguson, redirected the attention, redirected the momentum, took it and ran out of Ferguson with it, and left everybody there hanging. People, Darren wasn't the only one that ended up dead. A number of different people who were boots on the ground, who were actually contributing, died within the first couple of years of this Black Lives Matter usurpation, I guess is the word to use. When he started exposing them, there were people that when Darren Seal started exposing them, there were people who came out. I cannot remember her name for the sake of anything right now. But there was one sister, part of Black Lives Matter, feminist, who literally called for him to be drugged in the streets. A couple of weeks later, he was dead. I mean, and then there were, like I said, at least 5 others notable that followed him because they were vocal, because they were calling it out, because they were telling us. And that is something that we have to be aware of when we're out here. Number one is we need to be more focused and we need to be more open. Somebody came on talking about the young lady that we're helping, I keep saying young lady, and I'm aging the hell out of myself because she's almost 40. And I keep saying young lady. She's a young lady to me, believe it or not. But this young mother that I'm working with, someone who watched the video came on and in the comments and said something that totally made a lot of sense. And it's how I feel all the time. She said, it's a shame that you have to actually explain yourself as to why you've chosen to help this woman. It's because we just simply are not conditioned to be on code. I'll give you a prime example of being on code. Darren Wilson shot Mike Brown, I believe it was 7 or 8 times. Unloaded his clip, but hit him 7 or 8 times out of the many times he shot. Many of those shots were fired with Mike Brown's hands in the air saying, don't shoot. Now, this is by account by more than one person that he had his hands in the air hollering, don't shoot. Matter of fact, that became one of the rally cries, hands up, don't shoot. Yet he shot him. And I'm not talking about at close range where you could say, okay, Mike Brown's size was intimidating to him. And so he felt threatened and he was afraid for his life. Mike Brown was 25 to 30 feet away with his hands in the air saying, don't shoot. What point am I getting at? Despite all of that evidence, Darren Wilson raised $550-something thousand on GoFundMe before a rally cry caused them to shut it down. 500. And if you were to go on, and I did, I wanted to know how their minds were working. And you could get some people on there and you can see it had nothing to do with them thinking he was right. It's simply an automatic code response or protocol. When a white person comes under the threat of a black organization or black entity or any black force, we rally. Now, there was some real hatred on there. It was some giving him big ups and big props for taking down the big black, you know what. But there were a lot of others on there that simply were giving because that's what they do. That's called being on code. See, they have us convinced and they have us operating, and they have done this for decades and even centuries, operating on a moral code that they don't operate by. What do I mean? See, we get the idea because the media controls the narrative that America is this big moral nation that has the right to go around and govern the happenings, so to speak, for lack of a better term, in other countries, other places. And we are the moral captain of the universe. And so we can come in, and we have done more dirt than any other nation on the planet. And we are newer than almost all of the other major players. Most of the other major players that are out there were around long before the United States was formed. And yet we've done more dirt in our short 200 plus year history than any of them. But we have a mentality that we're moral, and then we push that morality, and there's no more of a moral people than black people, while we are yet always labeled criminal, animalistic, disruptive, and uncivilized. We're by far, if you judge us as a whole, more moral, more caring, The problem with that is that while we're being moral and caring, they're running the gamut and running rampant all over us. And we don't know how to get on code because we want explanations for everything. They don't need it. Darren Wilson, you shot a black kid and they're talking about prosecuting you. Here, we got you. We're going to give you the best possible defense you can get. That 550 wasn't where it stopped. That 550 is where I was able to stop tracking it because GoFundMe shut down the account. It continued in other ways. They opened up a bank account. They opened up a bunch of other things. From what I understand, it exceeded $1 million. He became a millionaire for killing a black man just simply because white people own code. Yet, here we are actually doing boots on the ground work. And what happens? An organization like BLM comes in and diverts $100 million that the black community needed, that the fight needed. It wasn't just about the cash grab. It was what they took and what it could have done for us. It's about the killing of the movement, the killing of the momentum, and they did it. And so now people like Mike Brown Sr. and some others are coming out and demanding. And I hope they get answers. But I think that one thing we must do as alt-black media and as individuals is to continue to apply the pressure. It is apply pressure consistently. We have to learn how to operate as a unit. We must learn how to operate as one integral unit. We've got to stop being so individualized in our movements and our thoughts and how we operate. That is what makes us so vulnerable, is that we are so individualized. That's how they can pick us off one by one, get a little pushback, but nothing major, because we don't feel it the way we're supposed to feel it. We don't have protocols in place. If you watch other ethnic groups and other racial enclaves, there are literally protocols to how they behave. It's taught early in life. It's simply how you behave. Look, I'm not going to stay on long. I just had to get on and talk to you guys about that. But what we've got to do is we've got to do a better job of getting behind the people who are doing the work. I work directly with Neota in the building of alt-black media, something she had going long before I got there. She actually was syndicating my work before I ever knew it. And a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Dr. Michael Blanchard, told me, hey, man, Neota is really pushing the work you're doing. She really believes in what you're doing. And so we connected and we've been working together ever since. We've been powwowing, we've been talking. And this sister is one of the most knowledgeable activists you could ever imagine. She is a wealth of information. She is a valued asset and must be protected at all costs. But we also have to get in and provide the support that is necessary. So when she's asking for support, we need to support the building of it, because what we need now in alt-black media specifically are servers big enough and strong enough for us to house the content in volume the way that YouTube does. You know, these videos take a lot of bandwidth and server power and storage space. And so we're working on that, but we're still moving forward while we're working on it. So we need that. The work that I do in the community with Black Men Lead, Restoring Ghettos Forgotten Daughters, and the community work. While I'm sitting here, I've had a person that's been emailing me since this morning about her children needing therapy. You think there's a fund for that? So when I sit up and I evaluate her situation and determine that it's an absolute necessity, guess who's going to eat it? because the babies need help. That's the problem we have, is that when we did have a chance, they stole it from us. Black Lives Matter came in and ripped it. It's not even just the 100 million. It's what if we'd have kept that movement going, how much more we could have done and built from it. Ferguson could have been our Mecca, and they robbed us of it. So we need to hold them accountable, but we also need to continue to understand the importance of still building. We can't fold right now. We can't turn in. And so that's why my heart is in the street. That's why, with all the things I do on the academic level, with all the things I do on the business level, my heart is still in the street. And that puts me sometimes at a disadvantage because I'm feeling so much. You're so close to it, you can't help but feel it. You can't help but experience it. Well, like I said, look, I'm going to get ready to get off here. There's one more time I'm going to share that information for you to support it. But support the work we're doing. And then if you want to know more about the story of this young Black mother and the life-threatening situation she and her kids in, like I said, 2 of her children have already been wounded by gunfire of gangs firing at our house, trying to shoot a son who was a good, studious kid. From everything that I've been able to discover about these kids, they're good kids. No kid's perfect, but he's not a gangbanger. He grew up with a friend who became a gangbanger. They got into a disagreement and the kid turned on him. Now an entire gang is trying to kill him. And he wasn't even at home. They know he wasn't at home because they sent somebody by to scout and talk to the 2 little girls. And they knew he wasn't there. And they came by and shot the house up anyway. Hit both girls. One girl got shot in the face. Is still in the process of being treated. Is going to have corrective surgery and so much more. There's so much to this story. And that doesn't even touch the surface. But I'm here and I'm going to do everything I can. So if you, again, look, I'm here for those who want to deal with me directly in this, because this is so much bigger than a one-off thing. I'm putting in my direct email. Email me so we can connect and we can find ways to make this happen. But for those of you who want to support with a one-off, or say I'm going to contribute $10 a month, $25 a month, $500, whatever you can afford. I don't get in people's pockets. You've never heard me tell you that's too small. You didn't give enough. All you people not giving. I'm not that person. I'm the person that says I'm going to do everything I can under my power, short of putting my family at jeopardy. And at one point I was catching hell because I was flirting with that, just going in my passion so deep. And wifey tugged that coattail. Hey, player, you're going a little deep in the coffers. And I had to slow it down. But here's what I'm telling you. We need help. We need some mental health professionals, because this lady has 4 kids, all of which are going to need long-term mental health intervention. And she is going to need long-term mental health intervention, which I personally committed to. And depending on the kids, I'll see what I can do, but really need other people to be able to be involved in that, because these stories need to have trust. And if I'm dealing with everybody, it's hard to get trust because people don't know if you're going to go back and tell the other person. And we really need to get to the bottom of all of this. And people need to feel safe when they're in those type of situations. So we need help in that area. But any way that it goes, look, we've got work to do. I absolutely love you guys. And I believe that we can do way more than people give us credit for. But we've got to stand together. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day, and we will catch up on tomorrow. Peace.